Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the St. Louis Cardinals in the final game of a 4-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Cardinals, right-hander Michael McGreevy, and for the Padres, right-hander Stephen Kolek. Hi again, everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 11:15 a.m. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. from Busch Stadium in St. Louis in just a little bit. We'll hear from David J. of MadFriars.com. Little look at the minor league system for the Padres as we enter trade deadline week, our keys to the game, and much, much more to come. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 56-49. They entered the day sitting in the National League's final wild card spot, a 1-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds. This is the final game of the Padres' 10-game road trip. If they can find a win today, they will have a 5-5 trip. Padres return home tomorrow for the start of a 6-game homestand against the Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. Speaking of the Cards, they're 54-52 entering today. They're 2.5 games back of the Padres for that final wild card spot. Even after winning the first 2 games of this series, the Cardinals are still just 7-14 in their last 21 games. The Padres were entering yesterday's action, trying to snap a 4-game skid. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
In the top of the second, Jake Cronenworth was hit by a pitch. He was still on first base. 2 men away for Bryce Johnson.
3-2, hard hit on a line up the middle into center field, and a base hit for Johnson. Cronenworth's going to go first to third. Now Scott loses the ball. Jake going to try and score. There will not be a relay to the plate, and a Cardinal error has opened the doors. Padres take a 1-0 lead in the second.
Single and an error made it a 1-0 Padre lead. Cardinals answered in the bottom half of the inning. Nolan Arenado battled Randy Vasquez, that is, to draw a 10-pitch walk. He was still on first base. 2 outs for Jordan Walker.
2-0 pitch is a rocket to center field. Merrill straight back and reaches up, can't make the catch. It's over his head, bounces against the wall. Arenado being waved at third as the throw comes to Iglesias. Relay to the plate, not in time. RBI double Jordan Walker, and a 1-1 game here in the second.
We were still tied at 1 going top 4. Jake Cronenworth began the inning with a leadoff double. He went to third base on a ground out. Bryce Johnson was next.
For the way in, Johnson bunts towards first. Contreras charges, bare hand, throw to first, or throw home. The tag not in time. Cronenworth slides in feet first ahead of the tag from the catcher Pages. Pretty good effort by Contreras, but too much speed. Johnson is aboard, and the Padres back in front. It's 2-1.
Nice little safety squeeze put the Padres ahead. Randy Vasquez pitched into the bottom of the 5th inning. He got the first 2 outs, but then for a second straight Vasquez outing, Mike Shildt was very aggressive with the bullpen. He brought in Adrian Morejon. Morejon finished the 5th inning. Morejon then got the first 2 outs of the 6th with the Padres still ahead 2-1. Jeremiah Estrada finished the inning. Estrada pitching a scoreless 7th inning. Jason Adam a scoreless 8th inning. We went top 9. Bryce Johnson began the inning with a leadoff double. A sac bunt got Johnson to third. Fernando Tatis Jr. brought Johnson home with a ground out, a big insurance run. Padres led 3-1. It was Robert Suarez in the 9th.
Running the 2-2 pitch, grounded to shortstop, charged by Bogaerts. Little flip to second is just in time, and the game is over. Contreras went in hard. He might have spiked Iglesias, Jose doesn't say a word to him. Contreras trots back to the dugout, and the Padres have defeated the Cardinals 3-1 on quite a night in St. Louis.
The four horsemen, Morejon, Estrada, Adam, and Suarez, combining to record 13 outs. They did not allow a run as the Padres snap a four-game skid, and now they aim to split this four-game series in St. Louis here today with first pitch coming up at 11:15. Let's go to Busch Stadium in the Lou.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, let's start with a look at today's starting pitching matchup, and more specifically, right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres today. And I'll ask you a similar question that I posed to you about Randy Vasquez earlier in the week. Obviously, Kolek's been really good, had a really nice outing in Miami his last time out. But where is the room to grow for Stephen Kolek, both here today and the rest of this season?
It's an interesting question because him and Randy have a lot of similarities, different types of pitchers, but nonetheless kind of have the same kind of room to grow. I don't know. I think they both can get better at finishing guys. I think for Steven, it's a little different because he has a few more pitches that he's working with, right? I think his sinker can be very effective to righties, maybe not as effective to lefties. So he has to use the four-seamer a little bit more there. And so I think trying to find the proper mix along with being able to finish guys is where I think the growth is for Kolek. Certainly his last start was a step in the right direction. Yeah. He was able to kind of get early outs, and when he got ahead, he was able to either finish a guy or get that at bat over with without extending himself too much.
Yeah, it continues to be a great story for this team. He'll try to help the Padres to a series split here today. Meanwhile, on the other side of this pitching matchup, young right-hander Michael McGreevy on the mound for St. Louis. The interesting thing about McGreevy, Tony, is that, well, his numbers are good overall. He's a good young pitcher. He's only walked 3 batters this year in 28-plus innings. He is a command guy. If you're the Padres offense, you're going up against a guy in McGreevy you've never seen before. You know he doesn't walk many. You know the control is there. So against a guy like that, a young pitcher that has good command, what is typically the approach against a guy like that?
Well, and I guess it depends on the type of command, right?
Yeah.
If he's in the zone and he's catching a lot of plate, I think it's, you get a pitch to hit, take a whack. But if he has the kind of command, and I think that's kind of remaining to be seen, right? I think, he's had a few starts, 7 to be exact, or 4 to be exact this year. And so I think he's still trying to figure out who he is at this level. And so I think for the Padres, they'll take their normal team approach and see if they can get some pitches out over the middle of the plate and try to take advantage of that.
Tony, that was the baseball portion of our chat here today. I do want to talk a little bit about the drama from last night.
I figured that was coming.
Yeah,
point.
Look, it was obviously interesting to hear Manny talk about it after the game and what he had to say regarding his relationship with John Jay. I don't even want to get into that, but reality is this. The benches have cleared twice in this series. These teams have 4 games against one another by the end of next weekend, including today. I said yesterday before I heard the comments from Manny, I said yesterday I didn't expect it to. It didn't sound like Mike Shildt expected it to carry over. What do you think? Because on one hand, it seems like one of those where it's like, man, if Contreras doesn't react the way he did initially early in the series, we probably get nothing out of all this. But on the other hand, it's baseball, and there are 4 games left between these two teams.
I think over the course of 9 innings, I think it's really hard to predict where it goes. But my gut is, given the fact that outside of Contreras, what was it, 2 nights ago, I don't know that I should say everybody handled it the way you want it to be handled if we were just going to move on. I think Contreras was the only one, and I think even he saw some error in how he conducted himself the first night, right? Because that led to warnings. The same thing virtually happened the next day, only every single guy who got hit didn't have a reaction. They just took their base. And I think in a game that, prides itself on policing itself in some ways, there are there are necessary ways that you have to conduct yourself when in the mix like this. And I thought, the first night with Contreras, him kind of staring at Pivetta, and it's kind of the wrong mix, right? He's staring at Pivetta. Pivetta is certainly not going to give in. And so you end up with a little bit more of a situation than it should. The following day, he gets hit. He just takes his base, and he got hit twice. And listen, you're allowed, both him and Manny are allowed to be frustrated that they got hit with a pitch that is a 95 plus. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. But they all walked to first base. There was no confrontation. It wasn't until John Jay came out and said whatever he said that it escalated. And that's a coach. And so because it's a coach, and specifically not the manager, I think this thing has a chance to just kind of move on beyond what we saw the first 2 days and just get back to baseball because those guys handled it the way they did.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I thought he did everything right yesterday. He took the pitch in the fifth inning, went down to first base. He was upset about the second one. He has the right to that. And, obviously wasn't happy about John Jay getting involved, which I got too. Absolutely.
I think it's important to notice. I thought the umpires did a terrific job yesterday, and especially how Manny was handled. Les Barrett was pretty much just eating whatever Manny was having to say to him. And then I think Manny realized at some point, they got to have this meeting first before anybody can be ejected. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought that they also could have escalated it more. They didn't. And it allowed the game to kind of finish. And I think we got a chance to just have some clean baseball today.
Tony, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse at 11:05 here in California. Thank you.
Sounds good, Sam.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 11:15, the final game of this series and the final game of this 10-game road trip. And it will be interesting to see if there is any carryover with that whole situation into today. And remember, these two teams play one another Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My inclination is much like Tony's. I don't think it will. It sounds kind of done. And I said it yesterday on the postgame show. If Contreras never reacts the way he did the first incident of this whole drama, I don't think we have anything with this. There was nothing between these two teams. Manny handled everything yesterday really well. It's not like a player was involved with the drama yesterday. It was a coach and John Jay. So I would be surprised. But hey, as we just talked about, it is baseball. And I guess you never know. When we come back, we'll revisit what Mike Shildt had to say after yesterday's win. We'll also take you around the out-of-town scoreboard coming up later. We'll also have our headlines from around the major leagues. It is induction day in Cooperstown today, so we want to update you on all of that. Our keys to the game, much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 11:15 a.m. in St. Louis. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this.
Stay
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 11:15 a.m. in St. Louis. Our starting pitching matchup today, right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Michael McGreevy on the mound for St. Louis. We'll talk much more about our pitching matchup coming up in just a little bit. Military Sunday on the Padres Radio Network is presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, no cost maintenance standard, so you get peace of mind standard. Padres wrapping up this 10-game road trip. Remember, they do return home starting tomorrow for a 6-game homestand against the Mets, and then 3 more against the Cardinals. It'll be Monday through Wednesday against the Mets. It'll be Friday through Sunday against the St. Louis Cardinals. And don't forget to grab your sandless beach towel that is on Tuesday, the giveaway to the first 40,000 fans in attendance on Tuesday, July 29th against the Mets. So don't forget to grab that sandless beach towel. I showed it off the other day. I think that was on Wednesday during our post-game coverage, and it's a great item. It's really soft. You can use it as a blanket, as a beach towel, sandless. I'm telling you, no sand is going to get caught in this beach towel. You just kind of shake it out one time lightly and you're good to go. Pack it up. So a great giveaway on Tuesday and lots of good stuff as always at Petco Park on this upcoming 6-game homestand against the Mets and the Cardinals. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Day game after a night game, so no pregame media availability today for Mike Shildt. So let's revisit what Mike had to say after yesterday's 3-1 win. Bullpen was great once again. Really similar game to Monday in Miami, where the 4 horsemen, Morejon, Estrada, Adam Suarez, got 14 outs on Monday, kept it a 2-1 game. Padres won it 2-1. Well, Morejon came in a 2-1 game. Padres in front. Yesterday, bullpen got 13 outs. The only difference, they got 1 less out. They got 13 instead of 14, and they also got an insurance run to make it 3-1. But aside from that, really, really similar. The bullpen terrific once again. Obviously, we had the extracurriculars with the benches emptying, Contreras getting hit a couple of times, Manny getting hit a couple of times, not being happy about it. Let's revisit what Mike Shildt had to say after yesterday's 3-1 win.
I guess quite a formula. You've got Randy Vasquez and 4 guys back in. It's worked really, really well for you.
It has worked well. It's worked out where we've had those guys available with Randy. Tonight was a team win. Randy's got 1 hit going and a couple walks. The long walk that no one ended up coming around to score, and just got to that part where with 2 outs in the 5th, it's like, okay, give him another hitter, see if we can get his win. But no, we got Morejon in there, trusted, and we got 1+ out of him, and it was just his spot. So, very unselfish of Vasquez. Gets it, clearly competing, but we're about team wins at this point. And, Estrada comes in and gets Scott, goes out, Estrada picks him up, finishes out, grabs the 7th, and, Jason picked the whole play ball, and Suarez brought it home.
Kind of a classic win for you guys. A lot of things were executed really well. I wonder if you could.
Yeah, we played good, solid, fundamental baseball. Jackson made a great play in the 3rd defensively. Played clean, didn't miss the double play, but the offensive machine execution was really good. We took a lot of good at bats and manufactured some runs. Malty did a great job with the safety squeeze and did a nice job with the hit and run, and Bryce did a nice job on the contact play. We just did a lot of things. The runner starts full count with 2 outs, and the effort's good by Crony and base hit by Bryce, and we did a nice job sending him home, and just were able to execute and play the game the right way. And that's how low scoring games are won, or close games are won.
What's your take on the array of hit by pitches tonight, kind of the way that's all handled?
Just really unfortunate. How it's handled, it's handled. I mean, it's a tough spot, man. There's no intent taking place. I mean, we got a guy in Contreras that, we got a lot of guys that especially dive and just weren't trying to go in. The last thing I wanted to do was hit this guy. We just don't give away anything free, especially in a close ball game. Understand his and their frustration. I don't think other than the, Crody got hit, we didn't take exception with it. Part of the game, that was pretty clear that, first pitch after that happened, that Manny got hit. That was, that's not intentional. And I get it. I understand. I'm not casting any stones. I mean, I understand completely. They're taking care of their guy. And then after that, Manny and Contreras get hit again. And I can confidently say from our side it wasn't intentional, and I feel pretty convicted from their side it wasn't intentional as well. But, it's hot. It's that time of year. Guys ain't digging it. And, but I know both sides just like to play clean baseball. The thing is, you go out there and, some people chirp, and there's some things taking place. There's a lot of good dudes with cooler heads that, have a lot of respect for each other. So, but both sides just trying to take care of each other. And, it's really, quite frankly, a little bit unnecessary, but understandable.
Sounds like you think that, at least from your side, like this is over.
I know, it's over. I mean, listen, we just like to play baseball. I know that group over there is the same way. But, no side's going to want to sit there and take it all day. But yeah, I thought it was over going into the day too. I didn't think twice about it, quite frankly, and I don't think anybody did. At least on our side. But we'll show up tomorrow, play good, clean baseball, and we'll go from there.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt yesterday after the Padres 3-1 win. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage today coming up after this one is over. Speaking of the two guys involved in the hit by pitches, they're both swinging the bat really well right now. Manny is hitting .340 with 4 home runs, 10 RBIs in his last 13 games. He also is now hitting .326 with 15 home runs, 44 RBIs, in 46 career regular season games against the St. Louis Cardinals. His .998 career OPS against the Cardinals is his highest against any team. Is his highest against any team. The sentence ends there. Wilson Contreras is also swinging the bat really well. .362 batting average, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs in his past 16 games. So those two guys involved in the hit by pitches yesterday, both swinging the bat really, really well right now. Take a look at the starting lineup today for the Padres. Looks like this: Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off, Luis Arraez at first base batting second, Manny Machado at third base batting third, Jackson Merrill in center field batting cleanup, Xander Bogaerts the DH batting fifth, Gavin Sheets in left field batting sixth, Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh, Jose Iglesias at shortstop batting eighth, and Elias Diaz behind the plate and batting ninth with right-hander Stephen Kolek on the hill. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners did it again last night. He hit his 40th home run of the season, becoming the 7th catcher in Major League history to hit 40 home runs. And oh, by the way, it's only late July. Raleigh's 40 home runs now leads the major leagues. The Mariners beat the Angels in Anaheim last night, 7-2. In Yankees news, a couple of notes here. Aaron Judge was officially placed on the 10-day IL with a flexor strain in his right elbow. The team continues to say that there's no damage to his UCL and he won't require surgery. Judge will now throw a baseball will not throw a baseball for at least 10 days, and it sounds like he'll be the designated hitter initially when he returns. The Yankees also acquiring utility man Ahmed Rosario from the Washington Nationals last night in exchange for 2 minor leaguers. Rosario is batting .270 with 5 home runs this season. Royals acquiring veteran outfielder Randall Grichuk from the Arizona Diamondbacks yesterday. Royals sending right-hander Andrew Hoffman to Arizona. And finally, it's a big day in Cooperstown. It's induction day. Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, Dave Parker, and Dick Allen will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame today in upstate New York. Longtime Guardians broadcaster broadcaster Tom Hamilton, the great Tom Hamilton, will receive the Ford C. Frick Award. Thomas Boswell, who spent 52 years as a baseball beat writer and columnist with the Washington Post, will be honored with the BBWAA Career Excellence Award. And that's a look at some headlines from around the major leagues. Good for Tom Hamilton, not only one of my favorite radio broadcasters to listen to in the major leagues, but also incredibly nice guy. He's been super, super nice to me when I've seen him around the ballpark. So good for Tom Hamilton. Congratulations to him and to everybody and their families being honored up in Cooperstown today. Always such a great day in Cooperstown. And I will tell you, here on the West Coast, and I think I say this every time we have induction day during the course of the summer, I know we're far away here on the West Coast in San Diego, but it is worth the trip out there and to upstate New York if you can get there. If you're a baseball fan, it is worth the trip to go to Cooperstown one day and go to the Baseball Hall of Fame and enjoy what is just a beautiful area in the summer and a really great town in Cooperstown. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the Padres minor league system, revisit a conversation I had earlier this series with David J. of madfriars.com, get a better sense of the state of the system, really in the context of the trade deadline looming on Thursday. Our keys to today's game in St. Louis, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Michael McGreevy. Much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 11:15 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, Shandy.
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We send things out to Jesse and Tony in just about 20 minutes. First pitch coming up in just about a half hour at 11:15 a.m. in this series finale between the Padres and the St. Louis Cardinals. We have our keys to the game, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's take a look at today's injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, as we often say here on the injury front, no news is good news. Nothing major to update you on today in this series finale. We do know that Michael King will throw his first simulated game at Petco Park on Monday. That's tomorrow, of course, so that'll be something of note tomorrow. Michael King throwing in his first simulated game as he continues to work his way back from the IL. Nothing major to report as far as today's game for the Padres. As far as the Cardinals, they continue to miss a couple of key players in their lineup. Nolan Gorman, an infielder, he is currently on the IL with a back injury, could start a rehab assignment this coming week. Lars Nootbaar, key outfielder for the Cardinals, he could begin a rehab assignment this coming week as well. He's been on the IL with a rib cage injury, and that's a look at a quick injury report on this Sunday as we get ready for the finale of this 4-game set. Well, earlier this week here on one of our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame shows, I talked with David J of MadFriars.com. Really some good insight on the state of the Padres minor league system in the context of the trade deadline, trying to figure out with all these rumors flying around regarding Dylan Cease, regarding the Padres' approach at the deadline, how A.J. Preller might go about it. Thought it was a good time to give you a little insight on what the Padres have to sell from a prospect standpoint and some of the names that may attract other teams to dealing with the Padres this coming week. Again, the trade deadline is Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so we are creeping closer and closer to that deadline. And if we know A.J. Preller, well, you would assume the Padres will do something. The question is, what is that something, and how big of a swing will it be from A.J. Preller, who always likes to get creative? Here was part of my conversation from earlier this week with David J of MadFriars.com. With the trade deadline looming, all these rumors starting to fly around, and ask you about the state of the Padres farm system, really in the context of the deadline and what might interest other teams. How do you view the farm system right now as this deadline approaches?
Hey there, Sammy. Thanks for the chance to chat. It's always good to talk to you. I think the system is definitely down from where it's been at various points in the past, but it's interesting. You were talking with Tony about how the Cardinals way seems to have faded a little bit. And we actually just have a piece up right now on the site talking with Mike Shildt about building the Padres way in this organization and his role in doing that. And, one of the things, you look at what the Cardinals did for so long, they kept churning out guys who never really ranked in prospect rankings very highly, but who just got to the big leagues and produced, guys like Tommy Edman and they sort of churned this whole group of outfielders consistently, Harrison Bader and some others. And I think to some extent that's where the Padres organization is right now. It's not as sexy as it's been in the past, but they've got some guys who the teams that are watching their system and looking at potential trade matchups are going to be interested in both on the pitching side and I think position player wise.
David, let's dive into that a little bit more. Some of those names, because look, I assume if the Padres are dangling Ethan Salas, there are going to be teams that are interested. If they were to dangle a Leo DeVries, I would highly assume there would be teams that would be interested in. And some of the pitching names that I think we know about as well, the Braden Nets of the world and some of those types of guys. But who are, I suppose, under the radar type guys that you think would maybe be part of packages if the Padres are making deals, sending minor league players elsewhere in order to help out this major league roster?
Yeah, I think when you look at starting pitching, I think Henry Baez is a guy who just consistently gets overlooked and has really for the last 3 years and has pretty much been their top performer on the mound the last 3 years. 22-year-old right-hander who's out in San Antonio at AA right now, leading the Texas League with a 1.96 ERA. His fastball is more in that 93, 94 range, although he can run it up to 96, 97 occasionally. So he doesn't have the sexy strikeout numbers that a Braden Nett does, but he also has a feel for the zone in a way that Braden hasn't gotten to yet. he just consistently gets guys to just pound the ball into the ground. We talked with him a couple weeks ago, have an interview with him. He's talking about the changes he's made to his slider grip because he already has a stellar split finger that he uses as his breaking ball. He's a guy who I know organizations outside the Padres think of highly, and I know people inside the Padres think of him really highly, not just for his performance, but also his mentality on the mound. I think sort of a half step behind that, you've got Miguel Mendez, who's probably the biggest breakout in the organization this year. A big velocity guy. He was a guy who was late to sign. He didn't sign until he was 18. He really made his first impact in full season ball last year. This year he was a little bit late because of weird foot injury during spring training, but he's now out in high A Fort Wayne and is absolutely dominating out there. He, among pitchers who've thrown 50 innings out there, he's got the best ERA. He's in the top 5 for strikeout rate, for FIP and some of the advanced stats. He's just a guy who, when you look at what gets people excited watching minor league pitching, he checks all the boxes, with the one exception that he is a fairly slight guy, and so I think there's some questions about durability as he goes.
Yeah.
But he's taken a big step forward with his command this year. He's a guy who has worked really well with their pitching development program, and I know as a guy who organizations are interested in and are keeping tabs on. Behind that, there are a couple of guys, a couple of lefty starters, Jagger Haynes, Louis Gutierrez, who are the sorts of profiles that get people paying attention when you're talking about arms that get packaged into trades at this time of year.
That was David J. of MadFriars.com. Matt Friars does a really nice job covering the minor league system, and hopefully that gave you a little insight on the state of the Padres system as we enter the week of the trade deadline. Back to this game in St. Louis, let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, keep the hit streaks going. Luis Arraez enters today in the midst of a 9-game hitting streak. He's batting .361 in that span. Jackson Merrill has a 6-game hitting streak, and he's reached base safely in 11 of his last 12 games. Manny Machado has 4 consecutive multi-hit games. Keep it going, guys. Manny, Merrill, and Louis. Key number 2, cash in. The Padres have 31 hits in this series through 3 games, but they're just 3 for 31 with runners in scoring position. They've left 27 runners on base in this series so far. They went only 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position yesterday. They left 10 on base. Now, did the Padres win the game? Yes, they did, but got to be better in those situations. Key number 3, slow down the Cardinal young guys. I'm talking about the Cardinals, Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, a pair of 23-year-olds. Wynn had a big 2-run double earlier in this series. He's now hit safely in 8 of 9 games and leads the National League in hits since the All-Star break. Walker had an RBI double yesterday. He's batting .303 in his last 9 games. 5 of his 10 hits in that span are doubles. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. First pitch coming up at 11:15. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games going on right now and everything else coming up later. D-backs and the Pirates are scoreless in the second in Pittsburgh. The Rays and the Reds are in Cincinnati today. First inning there, Reds leading 2-0. Blue Jays and the Tigers are scoreless in the first inning in Detroit. We do have 3 games in rain delays prior to first pitch, and they all are on the eastern seaboard. Rockies and the Orioles in Baltimore, Dodgers and the Red Sox at Fenway, Phillies, and the Yankees in New York, all yet to begin due to rain. Cubs and the White Sox at 11:10 in Chicago. Guardians and the Royals in Kansas City at 11:10. Marlins and the Brewers in Milwaukee at 11:10. A's and the Astros in Houston at 11:10. Nationals in Minnesota at 11:10. Braves and the Rangers at 11:35 in Arlington. Mariners and Anaheim against the Angels at 1:07. And later on today, 4 p.m., Mets and the Giants in San Francisco. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more on all those games coming up a little bit later on in our post-game coverage. When we come back, we tell you about one Padre that has got to get it going in this lineup today, and a full look at our starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Michael McGreevy. First pitch coming up in just a little bit right here on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch is coming up in just about 15 minutes. Let's tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in this series finale? Can the day off do Gavin Sheets some good? Why do I say that? Well, Padres gave Sheets the day off yesterday, and part of the reason why may be that Gavin is just 4 for his last 39. That's a 103 batting average in his past 10 games. So what to watch for in today's game? Can Gavin Sheets get it going in this series finale? Hopefully he can. He has had such a nice year, such a good story for this team, but as of late, it's been a bit of a struggle for Gavin Sheets. Our starting pitching matchup today, couple of young right-handers going at it in Stephen Kolek and Michael McGreevy. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Stephen Kolek, 28 years old, on the mound for San Diego. 3-5, a 4.28 ERA, 13 starts, 73 and 2/3 innings on the year. His last start in Miami, he was good. 5 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs given up, 8 hits. He struck out 5 and walked 1. Kolek made a relief appearance against the Cardinals early last season, 2 scoreless innings that day in relief. This will be Stephen Kolek's first career outing in St. Louis. His home and road splits continue to be pretty drastic. A 2.35 ERA in 9 starts on the road, a 9.45 ERA in 4 starts at home. Meanwhile, on the mound for St. Louis, right-hander Michael McGreevy, 25 years old, the 18th overall pick in 2021 from UC Santa Barbara, went to high school in San Clemente. 2025, a 3.49 ERA in 5 outings, 28-plus innings. He's only walked 3 in those 28-plus innings. This will be just his 8th major league start. Made a few last season as well. McGreevy has been up and down between AAA and the major leagues this season. His last start came on Monday in Colorado. He was great at the elevation. 7 innings, 1 earned run given up on 7 hits. This will be his first career start against the Padres. Lefties have hit him a lot better than righties this season. Lefties at a 283 batting average against him. Righties at only 204. And that's a look at our pitching matchup today. Michael McGreevy against Stephen Kolek. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, this long and windy 10-game road trip finally coming to an end today in St. Louis. Can the Padres finish up this trip with a win? Well, we're going to find out. When we come back, we send things to the loo. It's Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.
The digital